Mr. Chairman and Senator Nelson, and I also come as an alum of this committee and as one of the co-authors of Section 230 of the Communications Decency Act. Numerous experts obviously have pointed out that Section 230 was absolutely necessary to bring our legal system into the 21st century. It has been the legal foundation for the growth of the internet, particularly in areas like education, jobs, and a platform for free speech around the world, and I believe it ought to be kept intact. Now, when I wrote Section 230 more than 20 years ago, it was in recognition of the fact that the internet was just going to change everything. The way we interact with each other, the way we do business, it would change virtually every corner of our lives and our society. And we understood that no amount of legislation and political bloviating could stop the change, but we could influence how it came about. And the key question, Mr. Chairman and colleagues, was, would there be an internet dominated by private networks with the worst impulses of human beings going on in impenetrable dark corners, or would the internet be a platform open to the world where such impulses would be exposed to sunlight and the law? That's why we made it crystal clear that absolutely nothing in the 230 statute protects against violation of federal criminal law, and more importantly, nothing in the statute protects individuals from the full force of the law when they commit and leave evidence of their crimes online. The net has exposed much about human behavior that we might prefer to remain hidden. It's exposed much that many, particularly those in law enforcement, already knew about, but it's exposed them. And the question now is, and you've touched on this, Mr. Chairman, is how do you respond? Do we react like politicians, mindlessly bludgeoning deep pockets, driving away innovation, and utterly failing to stop the worst behavior, but simply just drive it underground? Or does the Congress react with resolution and purpose, providing law enforcement with the resources to effectively attack this horrible scourge that is far older than the internet, and we end up actually aiding the victims of this horrendous crime? So the issues to be addressed are not whether to eliminate the freedom that makes the net a place of innovation and opportunity. The issue is how to address, how to identify and lock up these horrible criminals who use the net as they've abused 1,000 tools before them to create victims and destroy lives. If law enforcement needs more resources, colleagues, or the tools to crack down in crime-laden internet neighborhoods like Backpage, let's give them what they've got to have. That includes a change in law to hold responsible those who might cynically design to profit from illegal behavior under the guise of providing a legal service. And I have fought alongside many of you on this panel in the Senate to end sex trafficking at home and abroad and support survivors of trafficking by getting those resources to the key enforcement officials who are on the front lines to fight this modern-day slavery. And I'm going to continue to do whatever it takes to provide strong protections and bring support to survivors to stop this kind of exploitation. Mr. Chairman and colleagues, I take a back seat to no one in this Senate in the fight against sex trafficking. That's a matter of public record. I just believe that the legislation being considered today is the wrong answer to an important question. It wasn't very long ago that members of the Congress were calling the net a series of tubes. When it comes to legislation, we've had the most success when protecting Americans' rights and protecting incumbent industries from smothering the innovators. Now, I don't think anybody on the committee today says, hey, let's undermine this thing that created $1 trillion worth of economic value. That is part of the question being considered today. America may have played the biggest role in creating the net, but important to the discussion today, the barriers to entry are very, very low. The reason another nation with more people, including more computer users like China or India, that had a functioning interactive network before us, like, say, France, have failed to dominate the net is our foundation of internet laws that kept lawyers and politicians and tax collectors from hobbling innovation and hobbling growth. Those forces never give up, and I'm sad to say they're at work right now. When I helped author Section 230, I didn't know all the effects it would have, but I did know three things. First, and I'll wrap up with this, Mr. Chairman, I wanted to help the gutsy startup by allowing them to hire engineers and developers and designers before they went out and hired a team of lawyers. Second, I wanted to protect good actors by allowing them to take down some material without being liable for everything. I think we all can agree that's a better scenario than having websites hide their heads in the sand. And third, it was absolutely essential to me. My bottom line is making sure that bad actors would still be subject to federal law. People who commit crimes can and ought to be prosecuted, whether they're online or whether they're on a street corner. Protecting that startup from discriminatory state law is vital, but it is equally important to make sure criminals of all kinds are held accountable. So as you consider making changes to Section 230, I hope you keep looking out for that person we were talking about 20 years ago, the little guy, the person who has taken a big risk. Technology's been important for the last 20 years, and we need to make sure that we have policies like Section 230 in place to make sure it stays that way. And I think this committee, in its tradition, has always been to pursue the regular order when it considers changes, and I look forward to having the opportunity to talk with you, our friend Senator Nelson, all of our colleagues, as this debate goes forward.
Thank you, Senator Wyden.